still have some energy in you to end the day on a high. I'm sure Michelle will energize you in a minute, so I will leave that to her. But it is my pleasure to introduce her. One thing that it's not so obvious is that she's actually, apart from being an inspiring speaker that talks about leadership development and career advancement and intrapreneurship, she's actually also a backup singer for Kylie Minogue, Rod Stewart, or Stormzy. So talking about skills, there's an interesting mix there. So she's a mother, a wife, a daughter, and a loyal friend, and I'm pleased to invite here Michelle Raymond. We are all yours.
So, seeing as you heard that I'm a singer, shall I sing a little song for you to get us started? As long as you clap and join in. So I'm going to make this up as we go along, right? Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Again. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Give yourselves a hand. Woo! Brilliant, and I wanted to do that so that we can just feel a bit more comfortable because we're at the end and I don't want you to go home thinking, oh, everything was great, and then it got to Michelle and it slowed down. So I just wanted to do that just to get us going. So let's make sure all of this is working. Where do I point? Where do I? There's nothing there that I'm pointing to, by the way. There's no laptop over there. Is that normal? Is that normal? Or do I point somewhere else? Okay, someone's coming. Okay, as someone is coming, I will continue. So, my name is Michelle Raymond, and I'm slightly different from most of the other speakers today in the sense of I am not an employee. I do not work for one of the big brands, big, beautiful brands that we've heard today. I actually am fully self-employed, which means I work every hour God sends me. I wake up very early, I go to bed very late because all the ownership and responsibility is with me. I'm also, let's just check, can I do anything? Different clicker, that would help. Okay, and how does this one work? Does this one? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I am, yes, as I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I am also, as you've heard, I'm a backing singer, but my background is in HR. So I have got more than 25 years of HR, working within a property company, like some of you. Is there any HR business partners in the room? Okay, yeah, we've got a few. Do we have any L&D specialists? Good. Any recruitment? Yeah, you get the hard work. I know you guys get the hard work, right? Okay, so I've done all of that, and I think it was Matthias that said earlier, you know, some of us are generalists and some of us are specialists. But I decided to break the mold and leave HR working for a company to do it myself. And I thought, actually, I like this. And although I didn't feel like I had to do entrepreneurship, I wanted to because I was highly skilled. There was so much more I could do, and I felt that within the organization, they just kept me under a certain level. So what I'm going to be talking to you about today is how we can harness career development and entrepreneurial skills, because I can guarantee there are employees, there are people in your department who have that entrepreneurial flair. And we don't want to see them leave the business. We want them to stay in the business and utilize those skills. Does that sound okay to you, that I share some of that with you? And as you can see on the slide, I've also worked with some big brands, some small brands. I actually operate in the UK and also in the UAE, mainly in Dubai, where I do a lot of work around leadership development, cultural intelligence, and cultural sensitivity. So, let me share with you what we're going to be talking about today. We are going to be looking at the importance of career advancement. We've been talking about it today in some length, but we've got to just go into it a bit deeper. This is going to require you to use your pen and papers, all right? Because you're going to be sharing some stuff. You're going to be having some discussions on your tables as well. We're also going to be looking at intrapreneurship as a growth lever. How can we harness intrapreneurship so that they don't leave and run their own businesses? We want them skills. We want them to stay within the organization. And how do we implement an intrapreneurship program? How do we do it? I'm just going to share some things with you. So let's look at the first thing. What is intrapreneurship? What do you think it is? Is it the first time you're hearing it? Have you heard? Is it? Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, let's show of hands. Who doesn't know what intrapreneurship is? Okay. Brilliant. Because when I was asked to deliver this talk, myself and the person who booked me, we said, actually, let me talk about intrapreneurship because not many organizations know it. But this is probably one of the reasons why a lot of staff are leaving, either to go somewhere else or to run their own businesses because of intrapreneurship. So what is it? It's the practice of applying entrepreneurial skills and approaches within an existing organization. So there might be people in your organization who are highly skilled, they're motivated, they want more challenge, they want things that's going to pull them, but the organization may not have the facilities, they may not have the resources for it, and then they end up leaving and setting up their own businesses. They end up leaving and becoming small business owners. But all that talent, all that knowledge is exiting the company. So that's what intrapreneurship is. It's like having an entrepreneur that works in the business, who takes risk. They love challenge, they love stretch. That's what an intrapreneur is. And what I want to show you by the end of it is for you to start thinking, are there people in my department? Are there people in my team that are showing entrepreneurial skills? And how do I hone that so that they don't leave? So they don't go somewhere else. They don't become consultants or contractors. So the challenges, we heard it today. AI, automation, it's changing the world of work. It's changing how the types of skills that we need. And because of that, and also because of the pandemic, there was a lot of times during the pandemic when we had to work from home. And those employees, they got used to working at home. Who can sympathize when you had to ask them to come back into the office? And they're like, why? Because clearly I can do it from home. Because now they've become more autonomous. They can do things by themselves and still get the work done. So there is a challenge for employers. They need to harness the different mix of skills to support new ways of working. Do you have that infrastructure in place? There's a challenge for people who demand, like I said, to be more autonomous. They want to be free from restrictions, but they still want to get the work done. And there's a challenge for businesses. They need to create a compelling people experience. We talk about the customer journey. We talk about customer experience. But what about the people experience at the organization? So, the impact of career growth on retention. Organizations with strong career advancement opportunities show a 34% higher retention rate. So we need to be doing more. We need to be doing more stuff. There must be more resources, more challenge within the organization to keep those top talents, those high performers. Career advancements needs to go beyond promotions and raises. Money will always be a motivator, but so is new skills. Upskilling, we heard from today. Taking on more responsibilities. What does that look like? And I want you to start thinking, because when you start discussing it on your table, how can I give people in my departments or one of the other divisions, how can I give them more responsibility? Because as we heard before, employees, they have the skills, they can do the work. How many of you actually know that there are people in your department, people in your team, they can do more than one job? But if you just silo them in one specific space, they get itchy feet, they want to move, they want to try different things. That's why we have secondments. And also finding more meaningful and challenging work. They don't want to just work for money. What else can they get from it? So, let me give you an example of something. Who here has heard this experiment, the fleas in the jar? Right. I don't want to say that your employees are fleas. Yeah, well, that's not what I'm trying to say, but listen to this experiment. And this is my interpretation of the experiment. They wanted to see how fleas work if they're in a contained environment. So as you know, if you see fleas, they fly all over the place. But what they did, they put them in a jar for 3 days, sealed the jar, and they put the lid on top, and they left them. After 3 days, they noticed that the fleas were only going up to the lid and coming back down, jumping up to the lid and coming back down. When they removed the lid, they thought they will fly out, but they didn't. They just moved to where the lid would have been and moved back down. They flew up and flew back down. They were limited. They were stifled. And that's what some of us may be doing with our staff, with our employees, with our team. Because we're not giving them the exposure to be bigger, to be better, and to do more for the organization. At the end of the day, the bottom line, they will prosper from it. They will benefit from it. When you nurture that entrepreneurial spirit of your employees, we don't want to put a lid on it. So, here's my question to you. How do you currently support career advancement in your organization? So I'm going to walk down here because I want to hear some of the conversations. Have a think now. How do you currently support career advancement? What does it look like? As HR professionals, you have those team meetings, you do the performance management. How are you making sure that people in your team are advancing in their careers? So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to discuss on your table, and then I'm going to come round and I want to have some shares. What are you exactly doing within? And because you're all from different companies, it'd be really good to hear as well what you're working on. Okay? So 5 minutes starts now. 5 minutes, 15. So don't be afraid to speak to your neighbors. I'm being nosy. How's it going? Going good? Good. One more minute, and then I'm going to select someone to share on a table. Mike. Okay, please select someone who's going to speak, to share what they do within their organization. Okay, brilliant, brilliant. So I'm going to randomly pick a table, and I'm going to select someone from the table to just share what you spoke about. Will that be okay? Yeah, we're all HR leaders here. Okay, so let's go to this table. And you have a beautiful tattoo. Feel free to stand up, say your name, and just share a little bit about what was discussed on this table. Guys, are we all listening? Brilliant. Just say your name so we all know who you are. Oh, oh no.
I don't know how
Say
to
again.
work with this one. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Simona. I just discovered that I'm at the table with some beautiful ladies from our sister company, or former sister company. I work for JD Pitts. They work for Mondelez, and we have a colleague from Oscar. Okay, so we were briefly discussing about how we see the career advancement in our companies. For Mondelez and JD Pitts, it's pretty much the same. We are looking at potential. We are looking at the skills of the people in our company. We are trying to encourage them to make some lateral moves, involve them in different projects where they can use their skills outside their current job.
Yes.
What else? Did I leave anything out?
Blended.
Okay, so blended learning. Okay, in order to prepare them for
Yeah.
future roles, I
Love
guess
that.
that this falls into the succession planning area.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's give Mona a hand. Thank you, thank you. Let's have one more share. Thank you, Mona. Let's go over to this side. Let's see. Let's have a gentleman. Did you just say no? Be brave. We would.
Doesn't apply to us because we are not HR nor we are at unde lucrăm.
You're okay. Oh, but that's even interesting, right? So it'd be interesting to hear from your perspective as a non-HR. How would you see career development? I think this gentleman would like to speak. Let's give him a hand.
Oh, come on. So, what's the question again, please?
So the question is, okay, so because you're not HR, just think in terms of your own career advancement, what worked well for you?
Given the chance of being creative.
Yes.
So, having enough space to be creative.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah?
Yes, and I don't know, I guess lateral moves in the company.
Yeah, I like that. Let's give him a hand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So being creative and lateral moves. So these are all good things that we can think about in terms of career advancement. Okay, so let's look at the difference between entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. Now, as you can see on the screen, entrepreneurs, they create organizations from scratch. So I'm an entrepreneur. My business is called The People's Partner, and I had to do it from scratch. But your intrapreneurs, these are your employees, they operate from inside your organizations. So there's boundaries. There's going to be certain limitations. Then, entrepreneurs, they find it difficult to get resources. Please understand, I'm always on Fiverr. Have you heard Fiverr? Do you have Fiverr out here? Yeah, trying to find team members or people per hour. But of course, if they're entrepreneurs, they just use their teammates. Entrepreneurs, all the rewards go to the entrepreneur, but for intrapreneurs, the rewards go to the company. So you benefit. When they're doing the work, when they're putting in the hours, when they're taking on new challenges, new risk, all the rewards go to the company. So the company make more money. This is what we want. We want our employees to be so engaged. We do all these engagement surveys, and there are a number of employees who are very entrepreneurial, but they want to utilize it within the organization, and that's where you get the reward. So let's look at some trends. Companies with active entrepreneurship see a 20% increase in innovation output. And that's what we're talking about today, innovation and creativity. 70% of employees who engage in entrepreneurship, they feel more satisfied with their jobs. Yeah? These are some questions that you can put in your engagement surveys. And the last one, organizations with entrepreneurship programs experience lower turnover rates. And this is all taken from, I think, the Boston Consulting Group. So we're more than happy to share all the links to that. But these are where these data is coming from. So there's two big companies that do this very well, Google and Intel. Google, they have an entrepreneurship program where they allow staff 20% of the time to do something innovative, to do something creative, so that when they are doing the work for Google, they are more motivated. So I know if you've heard of, I don't know if you've heard of, your environment does shape your creativity. So where you are, I spend a lot of time in Dubai because when I'm there, I feel like I can achieve anything. You know, they have the tallest building in the world. They have one of the biggest malls in the world. And it's the same with entrepreneurship. Sometimes they might need to change their environment within the organization to get the best out of them. And Intel, they have a program called Intel Innovation, where they give their employees resources, mentorship, to allow them to think outside of the box. That's what entrepreneurship is. So, what do you think are some of the key behaviors of an entrepreneur? What do you think the key behaviors are? They take risks, brilliant. What else? What do they do? They're curious, definitely. What else? They constantly adapt. I love that. You said something here? They have empathy. I love that. What else? They definitely do. They definitely push the boundaries, but in a good way, right? In a good way. I love that. Any more? They are? Yeah, innovative. They are, definitely. So let's have a look at some of them. They're problem solvers. They are disruptors. We heard that. They push the boundaries of the status quo. They take calculated risk. So I don't want you watching this, HR, and thinking, oh my God, this sounds like a headache. But they're not. If you put some certain boundaries, you'll get the best out of them. They're going to be unafraid to go that extra mile. You don't need to worry whether they are engaged. With all these employee engagement surveys, these staff, they are totally engaged because you're giving them room to spread their wings. They work outside their comfort zones. So they're unafraid to try something new. And they're willing to fail. We heard this today from Saskia when she was talking about change management. They are willing to fail because if you fail, that means you're trying. It's those who are unafraid to fail. They don't want to take on anything new. So, another question for you on your tables. If you had to create a business case, what would be some of the benefits for developing intrapreneurship? Now, we're used to writing business cases, HR, so have a think. If you had to put a business case together using some of the things that we've just said here, what would be in your business case? Why would I want to have more intrapreneurs? Adding dollars to the bottom line. I love that, definitely. That's what they definitely do. What else do they do? What would be in your business case? Why would you need to go to the head of the division or the CEO and say, I think we should think about creating an intrapreneurship program? He or she will look at you weird and think, what the hell is that? And you're going to say, well, actually, there are many staff that we have here who are forward-thinking, they want to push the boundaries, they're going to do so well for our business, but we don't want them to leave, we want them to stay. How can we do that? What would you put in yours?
Learning or developing something new, using the same resources.
Exactly. So it doesn't cost the business anything. The business can't fail because we're not asking you to fund it. We don't need to get budget sign-off. They are already there, but you're just widening the challenge. You'll say to that employee, we're looking to expand in new arenas, in the MENA region, and we want someone to think of a project or an initiative. You give that to somebody who has that entrepreneurial spirit, they will run with it, and the company benefits. So it's a win-win situation. Any more? Who else wants to share? What would be in your business case? One more share. Let's have two more shares. What would you put in your business case?
They are probably informal leaders already.
They are.
You might as well get on their good side. Let them by your side.
Right, exactly. And it's great for succession planning as well, definitely. And what would you do?
I would say they might help the company skip.
I think that they might help the company skip some developmental stages and jump
Yes.
ahead, maybe even of the competition.
Yeah, definitely. And we're so used to doing things in a linear way, like we've always done them. Oh, they have to start off there, and they then become middle managers, then they become managers. This skips that process, and it just gives you something else to consider. Yeah? Brilliant. So this is just some more information. It elevates the top line. It's competitive advantage for you as a company and as a department. It boosts company culture. We heard that earlier today, and it grows the bottom line. So the last bit, let's look at the cost. Let's look at the cost. The average cost to replace an employee earning around $50,000, we're just using dollars today, a year is approximately $16,000. So if you think about when you're having to rehire staff, this is possibly what it could cost you. The average turnover rate across all industries, specifically in the United States, is around 22%. That was back in 2021. When experienced employees leave, they take with them valuable knowledge. As you know, these are now the intangibles. It can impact morale, those who are left behind. So there is a business case to start thinking about adding intrapreneurship as an added program in terms of retention. So let me share with you 3 steps on how you can implement. Create career plans. Now, we do this already, so why not add another line? So you will know people in your team who are ready for this. It's not for everyone, but it's usually your high performers, your top talent. Yeah? Develop transparent career advancement frameworks and include intrapreneurship in them. The second is encourage innovation time. Give them time to think. We're always, in the UK, everything's always going very fast, but give them thinking time, development time. What that may look like is probably, you could say, every last Friday of a month. Let them go home early, or let them do some work somewhere else where different change of environment, a different scenery, and give it time and name it thinking time, innovation time. See what they come up with. And you can measure it because, as Norman was saying earlier around data, measure it. What do they come back with? How much of it can you implement? What impact will it make to not just them and your department, but the wider organization? And the last area is provide resources and support. There's support out there for your high performers, your high achievers. Now, what does that look like in practice? Equip them with resources, mentorship, support. Allow them to come back to you and share ideas. Listen. Saskia said earlier, listen to them. Listen to their ideas. Doesn't mean that you have to take on everything they say. But there's an art to great listening. Give them access to funding and training programs. So we all have training budgets. Make sure that some of the training budget goes to them upskilling themselves in certain areas that's going to benefit the company. So, let's develop entrepreneurial skills in talent. Give space for them. We mentioned that earlier. Support them to follow their intuition. Be open to hear their pitches. Establish clear metrics, as we said before, to know what the impact is. And provide financial incentives, such as bonuses or profit sharing. So I don't know if you know, but John Lewis, they do this very well. And because of that entrepreneurial program, part of it, you can buy shares in the company. Now, if an employee is allowed to buy shares in the company, they're going to go over and beyond for the company. And that's just, I'm here to give you another option to career development and career advancement. 3M does this very well. Because they gave innovation time, they created the Post-it. Who's got Post-it notes at home or at work? I love Post-it notes of every color, of every shade. And that's because they gave a number of entrepreneurs within the organization time to think about how can we innovate? How can we be more creative? And they came up with the Post-it notes. So I'm going to leave you with this quote. Businesses must upskill their workforce with entrepreneurial skills to thrive in this continuous changing world. And as you know, the world is always changing because we heard about AI. We heard about all the data and things that's going to impact skills. So why don't we start honing the entrepreneurial skills of our employees? So last thing to think about. What will you start working on when you go back to work? Let's start thinking about what are you going to start working on? And what will you continue to study? I would definitely advise and encourage you to think about entrepreneurship. Because there are people, there are staff in your departments, in your teams that will benefit from this. And you will benefit from it also. So, that's it from me. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. Brilliant. You have no questions, which is good. Of course you have a question. What's your question? There's the mic going.
Thanks. So if I created...
He's my husband, by the way. That's why I'm treating him like that, yeah? Don't take me to HR.
So if I created, or my team created the Post-it note, do I get a share in that? Should I get a share in that success?
Well, no. But, if it's outside of the remit of work, then I think it's something that you could discuss. But what I'm trying to show with entrepreneurship will go outside the bounds of what the strategy of the organization is, to think of other more innovative ways that can still benefit the company. So if it's not part of the agenda, it's something that you can definitely discuss. Brilliant. We've got a question here in the middle. Thank you.
So
I was thinking about initially what you said about some conditions that need to be fulfilled in order for a company to encourage this type of program. And my question is, what if one of those criteria is not met? So for example, what if someone in the company wants to encourage this type of development, but they cannot provide extra funding or they cannot provide access to training? So one of those four main criteria are not fulfilled. Can this still be accomplished?
Yes, and the reason why I say yes is because the employees who have that entrepreneurial skill, they're very self-motivated. So even if they didn't have the money or the resources, the financial resources, they will find other ways, because the mindset of an entrepreneur is very different from an employee. They will find other resources, they will find other ways of being able to still deliver, even if they don't have the financial backing. But the great thing about it is when they do deliver on whatever ideas they've come up for with the company more often time will find the funds afterwards, because they can see that it's a viable project, it's a viable initiative. So first, you may not have the money firsthand, you may not be able to give them the resources in training, but that entrepreneur will find the resources themselves, and then they can, what we call in IT an MVP, like a minimum viable product, test that out with the market, with the organization, and if they like it, I can guarantee you the company will find the funds to support future endeavors. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Awesome, I think we're done. But thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Over to you.